Clause 9.2 of ISO 2701 defines the internal audit function, the mechanism that gives leadership independent assurance that the information security management system is both conforming to requirements and functioning effectively. While Clause 9.1 focuses on metrics and measurement, Clause 9.2 provides verification through structured evaluation. Its purpose is to confirm that the ISMS complies with the ISO 2701 standard, organizational policies, and legal or contractual obligations, to test that implemented processes and controls are effective, and to provide objective evidence that supports continual improvement. Internal audits serve as the ISMS's internal compass, ensuring that the organization's day-to-day security operations align with its declared intent and that deviations are discovered before they grow into significant risks or certification issues. Designing an audit program begins with a risk-based mindset. Not every process or control needs to be audited at the same frequency. Attention should be focused where the greatest risks or changes exist. The audit plan must ensure that all ISO clauses and Annex A controls are covered over a complete audit cycle, but higher risk or recently changed areas may warrant more frequent reviews. Past incidents, audit findings, and performance trends from Clause 9.1 metrics also inform prioritization. Each audit's scope, frequency, and rationale should be documented clearly to demonstrate thoughtful planning. This ensures that the audit program is not a mechanical checklist, but a dynamic, risk-responsive system for continuous assurance. Independence and objectivity are central principles under Clause 9.2. Auditors must be free from operational responsibility for the areas they audit to avoid conflicts of interest. Reporting lines should be structured so auditors can present findings without undue influence, ideally to senior management or governance committees outside of the audited functions. Competence is equally critical. Auditors must possess appropriate training, experience, and understanding of both information security and management system auditing techniques. In smaller organizations where complete separation is impractical, safeguards such as peer reviews, alternating responsibilities, or external consultants can preserve objectivity. Independence ensures that audit results reflect facts, not internal politics or assumptions. A well-defined audit criteria and scope keeps the process focused and relevant. Criteria include not only the ISO 2701 standard itself, but also internal policies, legal or contractual requirements, and any supplementary frameworks the organization has adopted. The scope identifies which processes, locations, systems, and suppliers are included, along with specific exclusions that must be justified. Sampling strategies must be defined to ensure representative coverage, balancing depth of testing with practicality. For instance, a global organization may test one site per region per cycle, rotating coverage over time. Defining scope and criteria up front prevents scope creep and keeps audits tightly aligned with organizational priorities. Preparation is where effective audits are made. The audit plan should outline objectives, timelines, scope, and responsibilities shared with relevant stakeholders in advance to ensure transparency. Auditors prepare by reviewing existing documentation, such as prior audit reports, risk registers, metrics, and nonconformity logs to understand context and focus areas. Evidence requests, such as logs, access lists, and control records, should be distributed ahead of time to reduce disruption during fieldwork. Logistics for interviews and walkthroughs must also be coordinated early to ensure access to personnel and systems. Well-prepared audits are more efficient, minimize surprises, and produce higher quality findings that are directly relevant to risk. During fieldwork, auditors use multiple techniques to gather evidence and test ISMS effectiveness. Document review validates whether processes and policies exist and meet their stated intent. Interviews with employees help confirm understanding and adherence, revealing whether the culture supports or hinders compliance. Observation allows auditors to see processes in action, how data is handled, how incidents are escalated, how access controls are enforced. Sampling tests confirm whether controls work as designed and remain effective over time. The combination of these methods ensures that audits go beyond paperwork to evaluate real-world performance and behavior, producing a balanced and credible picture of ISMS maturity. Evidence collection during an internal audit must meet standards of sufficiency, reliability, relevance, and traceability. Screenshots, configuration exports, log extracts, or ticketing records provide tangible proof of compliance. Approvals, reports, and communications serve as corroborating evidence. For sensitive or confidential materials, chain of custody procedures ensure integrity and control during review. Evidence retention must align with the organization's document management policies defined under Clause 7.5. The goal is to ensure that findings rest on solid, verifiable proof, making them defensible in both certification and internal governance contexts. A well-evidenced audit builds trust in its conclusions and drives meaningful corrective action. Findings must then be classified and prioritized according to their severity and risk impact. Major nonconformities represent serious gaps, such as missing required controls, unimplemented policies, or failure to follow critical procedures, and demand immediate corrective action. Minor nonconformities identify isolated or less severe issues that still require remediation but pose lower immediate risk. Auditors may also record observations, potential weaknesses, and opportunities for improvement, which encourage proactive enhancement even when compliance is technically met. Each findings classification should consider both the risk to information security and its potential impact on certification status. Critical gaps should be escalated promptly to leadership, ensuring that remediation begins without delay. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The reporting phase of Clause 9.2 transforms audit data into actionable intelligence. A well-structured audit report begins with a concise executive summary that outlines overall conclusions, the audit scope, and a high-level assessment of ISMS effectiveness. Below that, detailed findings are presented with clear references to the supporting evidence, each observation anchored to a clause, policy, or control requirement. Root cause hypotheses help management understand why nonconformities occurred, linking them to underlying issues such as inadequate training, insufficient resources, or poor documentation. Findings should also reference associated risks, demonstrating their potential business impact. Recommendations must be prioritized based on severity and effort, with realistic due dates and responsible owners identified. A transparent, prioritized report keeps the focus on outcomes that matter and encourages timely follow-through rather than defensive debate. Once findings are issued, corrective action management ensures the audit achieves its purpose, improvement. Each nonconformity or recommendation must have an assigned owner accountable for remediation, with measurable outcomes defined at the outset. Deadlines are established based on risk severity. Critical issues demand immediate containment or interim controls. As corrective actions progress, status tracking keeps stakeholders informed of delays or resource barriers. Verification of completion is as important as the fix itself. Auditors or management must confirm that actions have been implemented effectively and that the issue will not recur. Closure criteria should be recorded transparently, documenting how evidence was validated. When corrective actions are managed rigorously, the audit becomes a living process of accountability rather than a static compliance artifact. Clause 9.2 also forms a crucial link between measurement and management review. Metrics established under Clause 9.1 inform the audit's focus areas, guiding sampling toward controls that show weak performance or upward risk trends. Conversely, audit findings feed directly into the management review process defined in Clause 9.3, where leadership evaluates ISMS effectiveness and prioritizes improvement initiatives. Common themes across multiple audits, such as recurring process weaknesses or control design flaws, should influence the next cycle of objectives and risk treatment plans. In this way, internal audits serve as the connective tissue of continual improvement, ensuring data, governance, and operations stay in sync across the ISMS lifecycle. The value of an internal audit depends heavily on auditor competence and calibration. Skilled auditors possess both domain knowledge of cybersecurity and a working understanding of ISO management systems. Regular calibration sessions within the audit team help standardize severity grading and ensure findings are evaluated consistently across sites or business units. Continuing education on emerging technologies and risks keeps auditors relevant in a fast-evolving field. Peer review of working papers enhances quality, helping identify gaps or overreach in testing or interpretation. These practices maintain credibility. An audit report is only as reliable as the competence and objectivity of those who produce it. As organizations rely increasingly on external vendors, supplier and outsourced process audits have become integral to Clause 9.2 compliance. Where right-to-audit clauses exist, auditors may perform direct evaluations of supplier controls, either remotely or on-site. When direct access is limited, reliance on external assurance such as ISO 27001 certificates, SOC 2 reports, or third-party assessments may be acceptable, but only after reviewing scope, coverage, and recency. Shared control boundaries, such as cloud configurations or managed service interfaces, require targeted testing to confirm that responsibilities are fulfilled as contractually agreed. Coordination between audit, procurement, and legal teams ensures that third-party performance is assessed objectively and that remediation obligations are enforceable. Supplier audits ensure that the ISMS's protection extends seamlessly across organizational borders. Common pitfalls in internal auditing tend to stem from process immaturity rather than intent. Checklist-only approaches, for example, can produce superficial audits that confirm documentation exists but fail to test real effectiveness. Limited sampling may overlook systemic issues hidden beneath compliant surface evidence. Delays in executing corrective actions weaken confidence in the audit process and allow risks to linger. Audit fatigue can also emerge when frequent reviews are poorly coordinated, leading to disengagement and less candid responses during interviews. Avoiding these pitfalls requires balancing thoroughness with efficiency. Audits should be rigorous enough to reveal root causes, yet scheduled and communicated in a way that respects operational realities. High-value internal audits distinguish themselves through depth, clarity, and relevance. Effective auditors build a risk story narrative, tying findings directly to potential business outcomes rather than abstract compliance gaps. They blend interviews, data analysis, and observation to construct a three-dimensional understanding of control performance. Recommendations are concise, cost-aware, and actionable, supported by quantitative or qualitative evidence that justifies prioritization. Audit results should be logged and tracked transparently through dashboards or review meetings, giving leadership visibility into progress and trends. When audits emphasize storytelling, impact, and accountability, they transform from compliance obligations into strategic instruments of risk governance. The flexibility of Clause 9.2 allows internal audit programs to scale to any organization's size and complexity. Small organizations may operate lightweight audit cycles, focusing on core clauses and critical controls while still maintaining documentation and independence. Larger enterprises can adopt rotational deep dive models, where each domain, cloud operations, vendor management, access governance, is examined in depth over a multi-year cycle. Automation tools can streamline evidence collection, aggregating logs and reports for sampling, while global organizations may centralize audit management as a shared service to ensure consistency across regions. Regardless of scale, the essence of internal audit remains unchanged: systematic, risk-based, independent verification of the ISMS's health. Mature internal audit programs deliver far more than compliance assurance. They enable early detection of nonconformities before they escalate into incidents, strengthening resilience and regulatory readiness. Regular audits also prepare organizations for certification and surveillance audits by ensuring documentation and controls are continuously tested rather than reviewed once a year. Over time, the discipline of auditing builds a culture of accountability and learning, where findings are seen not as failures but as opportunities to improve. This mindset fuels continual improvement and embeds transparency at every level of the ISMS. The audit process becomes both a mirror and a catalyst, reflecting performance honestly and inspiring sustained progress. In conclusion, Clause 9.2 establishes an independent, risk-based assurance mechanism that keeps the ISMS honest and effective. By combining clear criteria, competent auditors, rigorous evidence gathering, and structured corrective action, internal audits verify that the system not only complies with ISO 27001, but delivers genuine security value. Their findings inform management reviews and corrective improvements, closing the loop between performance, evaluation, and governance. When executed with objectivity and depth, the internal audit function becomes the organization's most powerful self-check, positioning the ISMS for continued success in Clause 9.3 and laying the groundwork for Clause 10's continual improvement engine that follows.